let me say hello to some people. Here we go. So if you see me looking this way, because I put another screen here so that I can actually see what you're talking about. Because last time you asked me what you thought I thought was going to win the derby, and I didn't have a clue. So I'm going to pay attention this time, rather iron shirts. So welcome Andy Grant and Angela and Chris Ebert. Christopher Biggs, nice to see you again. You're regular. Daryl, Dylan, I'm enjoying your pre-race previews. So let's hope we're right about Paddy DePaul having his 4-timer tomorrow at Fontwell. Welcome John Murray, Kate Billsborough, nice to see you again. Max Mitchell, lots of people pouring in. So I think we're going to sort of start kind of formally now. The good thing is you've only got me to begin with for a couple of minutes. I'd like to say a big warm welcome to our panel. Cheska's going to formally run you through all the introductions and stuff. So I'm going to say thank you, Jane. Thank you, Tom. Thanks, Charlie, for coming in. As ever, thanks very much, Cheska. Thank you very much, JM Finn and Simon Tufnell, who I know is watching, for sponsoring these series of Zooms we do. And actually, what you missed was the pantomime before of Cheska putting up her banner, because it was very entertaining. There we go. I think I've just done my thing. We know the format. Cheska, at the back of the running order, there's some questions that have already come in, which I think if you feel you want to work them in, I know that it helps really involve people and they like it. So if not, I can...
Because in my running order, we're doing questions after each preview of each day, correct?
That's not what I had, but I think you could just work those ones in.
Well, mine's this question, like discuss Tuesday questions from the audience, discuss Wednesday questions from the audience, discuss Thursday questions from the audience. Okay. Have you looked at this running order before 5 minutes ago, Ed?
Sorry?
Have you looked at this before 5 minutes ago?
Yes, I learned it off by heart. I just seem to have missed that line. Honestly, that's true.
Okay, well, either way, people just fire their questions in and I'll try and keep answering them.
And we will try and answer them. I will reappear at about 8:20.
Okay.
To sort of bookend the whole thing, but much more importantly, thank you very much to Ellie, who set this thing up and is twiddling the dials somewhere. And also, I know Ollie is behind the scenes, and we're going to write down all these tips of wisdom that we're going to get from this incredible panel, so that next week we can publish the tips as they come in, and celebrate with champagne with all these winnings, which is marvelous. Anyway, Cheska, I'll let you go. Best of luck. See you in 40 minutes or so.
All right. Well, thanks, Ed. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we're under a bit of pressure now to provide some pearls of wisdom and some good tips. Jane, I normally lean on you for this, but I know you've been sunning yourself in Italy under the umbrella for a week. So you're going to be, I can see you doing your last minute notes there. I don't think Jane really needs an introduction because you should be quite familiar with her from some of our previews. Brilliant ahead of Cheltenham. How many winners did you give us, actually? I mean, you can make it up at this stage.
Yeah, I think there was 28 races, Francesca, and I'd say a solid 26. And I don't know if I can take the Italian ladies' pun of me sunning myself under an umbrella, but I will say I'm back at Goffs and it's winter, and that will be a theme of our conversation, no doubt, with Charlie and Tom, because I've looked at the weather forecast, I've hired my hats, I've picked my outfits, and none of them are waterproof. I, unlike you, won't be standing in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, all right, you can gloat about that. I know it is like the middle of winter here. I'm sat here in my thumb. We've actually just turned the heat, haven't turned the heating on since kind of April, but now we've just done the heating on because it's so freaking cold. Charlie and Tom, well, Charlie, we've had you plenty of times, I think, on our previews, but good to have you back. And Tom, first time, I think. Welcome.
Thanks, Jessica. Yeah, no, great to be involved. Very exciting week ahead, and no, can't wait. Looking forward to
it. Charlie, when are you going to win with Fits Perfectly?
Oh my God.
What number are we at to now?
Really, really early on in the preview to hit me with that sacrifice. I thought you might leave it till the end. Yesterday wasn't her fault. Yesterday, her jockey and the jockey on the other horse decided to go 5 furlong pace for a mile race. So I'll forgive her that one. But yes, Francesca, it's proving rather frustrating at this stage.
Never mind. It'll happen. It'll happen. It'll be all the sweeter when it does.
It will happen.
Now, Jane's touched on it. What are we expecting weather-wise, ground-wise? What are we thinking? Tom, I think you've got an important runner on day 1. What are you wanting, and what do you think we're going to get?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty. It could get anything, couldn't we? I think it's sort of at the moment there's rain around. I think it's currently decent enough ground. He worked this morning, Rogue Lightning, on quickish ground on the lime kilns, and he loved it. He's, I think, a real top of the ground horse. So, well, it's best on top of the ground. So I'm hoping the rain stays away. But as you said, going on the lack of summer we've had so far, it would seem unlikely at the moment. It's just been so cold and so wet so far this year.
I hope some of the outfits have got sleeves. Anyway, Jane, as a bit of an overview, what kind of Royal Ascot do you think we've got this year?
I think we've got a mixed bag. If we're going to get soft ground, we're going to have memories of October's Champions Day last year, where we had a couple of real red herring results. There's been talk in the media about the lack of international competition, no runner or entry from Hong Kong or Japan. Wesley Ward only bringing 3 over and citing that some of his owners don't want to come because of prize money. And there's an element of that kind of threading through international racing at the moment. But there's one thing Royal Ascot has that no other event in racing around the world has, and that's the legacy, the tradition, the Bridgerton vibes, the celebrity, the feel, and of course the royal family. So that's where I like to go every year, and it's one of those events that I love to not work at because I can actually enjoy it as a fan, which we never get to do. There's still a couple of question marks as to what targets will actually happen. Will Remachuel go for the Commonwealth Cup, or will she go for the Coronation? I'd imagine they're ground watching, weather watching. So I'm not that confident in the Irish contingent. We're very heavily reliant on Aidan O'Brien. Dermot Weld, obviously he's Epsom winner, but he doesn't seem to have a star going. Ger Lyons, hopefully Jessica Harrington will have one, but give me the Beat Boys, is he really good enough? So there's a bit of that. I think you guys are going to have a very good week, but there's going to be a spread. We've seen that with the classics already this year. There's been no one domination from Coolmore or Godolphin. There's been a spread at the 3-year-old Group 1s, and I think there'll be a spread at Royal Ascot, and I'm sure Charlie and Tom will have their say on making sure that it's a spread.
Yes, in my introduction on my running order, Jessica, to introduce the panel, Charlie Fellowes, multiple Royal Ascot winning trainer. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
It was, yeah, although Ascot owes me a little bit now, because after sort of 3 quick-fire wins, I've been a little bit unlucky there with Grand Alliance veering halfway across the track and throwing a race away, and a Dubious Affair was very unlucky in the Copper Horse as well, when she flew late, just got beaten the nose. So I am due a winner. Whether I'm going to get one this year or not, I don't know. I'm going to put it out there, and this might be a pretty rogue thing to say at this stage, but I think it's the weakest Royal Ascot I've seen in a very, very, very long time. They're just, you go through all the big Group 1s. Where are the stars? There aren't any at the moment. I just think it's the quality, the depth is really, really lacking. I think, as we know, there's very few internationals coming over, which I think is a really bad thing. But
just on that, can I just ask, with the internationals, so you guys would know as trainers, so I read that Wesley Ward article where he said that it's expensive, and obviously for the 2-year-old races you don't get any kind of payments for your travel, etc., which you do for the Group 1 races. But you guys as trainers, when you're looking at campaigning horses internationally, how many places like pay for your whole trip, pay for the owners, pay for the trainer, give massive incentives, and is Royal Ascot a long way behind in that front?
So Hong Kong would pay for everything, and so I'm pretty sure Japan did as well, but Australia pay for absolutely nothing. And
what about like Bahrain and Dubai and all of those?
Bahrain, you get for the Bahrain Turf Series, you get like a subsidy to cover costs. Dubai used to pay for everything, but pay for less and less every year now, and Qatar, I can't remember what Qatar do. I don't know how much they put in, but I think at the end of the day, our prize money's not big enough to attract enough of the guys, especially Japan and Hong Kong and Australia, to come over and compete here. And they don't care about putting on a top hat and tails. They, when they're racing for double the amount back in Australia, I don't blame them.
Well, that's interesting, because like Jane says, it is the only place in the world where you get that extra special feeling or point of difference, the fact that the Royals are in attendance. And I think for a long time it has worked in our favour in terms of attracting international horses, but maybe it's on the wane a little bit. Tom, how much do you think we'll miss the presence of Frankie Dettori this year?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I slightly disagree with Charlie. I think it's the best week sort of internationally racing throughout the year. I think we all want to be there. It is very expensive to come over. If you've got a Southern Hemisphere horse, it can be hard to campaign one over here. It's hard to bring a horse from Australia over here, and it is very expensive. But for us to take one to the Breeders' Cup, it is you have to be in the first three, I think, even with good subsidies to pay for your trip to Breeders' Cup. So perhaps the lacks of a few stars, but I think it's a massively exciting week coming up, and I can't wait to get stuck in.
Do we find it weird? Just, I know I won't harp on about the Frankie thing, but do we find it weird that he's here, that he's at Ascot and he's not riding?
It's sad, isn't it? I mean, I suppose I get not riding for John and Thady. Be a bit hard on Kieran perhaps to say, sorry, Frankie's here this week. We'll have him again, and then not have you. But I think Wesley Ward would be the perfect example. He's got 3 here. I'm sure the cost of him ferrying a jockey over would be plenty enough. And if Frankie's there, I mean, you'd love to have him on the horse, and they've had such a good rapport over the years. It's sad. It's sad not to have him here, but I suppose it gives someone else an opportunity. Hopefully someone else can come to the forefront and really shine. And no doubt there'll be some fantastic stories. And I suppose all good things have to come to a close at some stage. And I suppose we all thought he would come back, and maybe it really was his retirement back in the last year on Champions Day and going out on a swan song.
Definitely went out on a high, didn't he? And I suppose there was a bit of like, oh, is he retiring? Is he not retiring? I just hope he doesn't feel like he can't ride at Ascot again, because everyone would be like, well, it wasn't really a retirement. Anyway, moving on. Should we get going with the preview? Anyone else want anything particular to say? Well, as we get going, I think we'll find out. We'll work out how good the races are. But day one, I mean, it's a hell of a way to kick off a racing carnival, isn't it? With the Queen Anne, the newly named King Charles III Stakes and the St James's Palace Stakes, amongst other really good races. The Queen Anne, I mean, we haven't got graphics with the runners. So for everyone at home, I think it might be helpful if I just kind of hopefully find the right page and just name some of the horses at the top of the market. So we can kind of have a bit of a preview. Let me get to the right page. Would have helped if I got this going beforehand, wouldn't it? Okay, Queen Anne. So the market at the moment, then the betting, Inspiral at the top, Charin, Factor Cheval, Coudois, Audience, 11-1 shot, Big Rock, Docklands, Dolaley, Maljoom, Royal Scotsman, Poker Face, Rogue Millennium, Witch Hunter further down, Flight Plan, etc. Have you guys had a chance to have a good look? And who do we fancy? Jane, do you want to give us a bit of an overview of the race?
Yeah, I might kick off, because I think with Inspiral, it's very much weather dependent. We saw her on heavy ground behind Paddington in the Eclipse, and she didn't really like that. And I'd say she's a filly that just wants the sun to shine, wants everything to align for her to be at her best. And she has brilliance, but she does pick and choose when she shows it. Charon's a good horse, but in my book, he's a Group 2 horse. And if he wins this, I would see it as a substandard event. And it possibly could be. The horse I fancy for the race is Factor Cheval. He won the Dubai Turf in March. He was second on British Champions Day to Big Rock. He was the horse that led home the chasing pack, ultimately, ahead of Tahira on bottomless ground. So he's for Jerome Renier. He'd be my fancy for the race. Aside from the obvious audience recency bias, obviously, with him, at bigger prices, I was really impressed with Royal Scotsman the other day at Epsom. You were there. There was no fluke about the performance. They changed the tactics, headgear on obviously it's not going to be that straightforward at Ascot because everybody's going to be wise to the change in tactics now. But like, he's running the Guineas last year was fantastic, and his Richmond win as a 2-year-old promised a lot. I actually thought he was unlucky in the Coventry as a 2-year-old, and he's currently around 25-1. So I see the miling division for older horses as weak, and they're the two that I like, with preference for the French horse factor as well.
Do we think Inspire is definitely going to go here? Because there's talk of her going to the Prince of Wales as well, right? But there was Passenger and White Birch, both sons of Ulysses, heading that way. But Passenger doesn't look like he'll go with an infection. I'm not sure what's happening with White Birch, if he'll go, but she could switch to that race, correct?
Yeah, I'd say they're weather watching. I'd say if it was soft ground, they'd stay at a mile, and if it was quick, they might go up in class. But the Prince of Wales is going to be a better race, and White Birch hasn't been confirmed, but yeah, I would see the Prince of Wales as a better race, and an easier option being the Queen Anne. But I actually haven't a clue what they're thinking, because I'd say after Audience threw his hat into the ring, there was a lot of question marks and scratchy heads.
Well, yeah, I find the Audience thing interesting, because I remember after the Lockinge on that day, I was having a discussion with Jason, and I said, okay, so after he was able to do that, what he was like 16-1 or bigger even that day, I said, so does he go off, what price does he go off in the Queen Anne? And Jason was like, oh, bigger, way bigger, because he won't be able to do that again. And now he's like an 11-1 shot. But Charlie, once a horse has been able to do that, I mean, I don't think there was a real fluke about it. And it's not like he's come from absolutely nowhere. It's not like they gave him a completely kind of free run on the front of it. Can he not do it again?
Yes, I don't see why not. It was a really, really, really strange race. This was split into 2 groups. I'd like to see him. I couldn't be backing him. I'd like to see him do it again. I guess one problem I'd have with backing Royal Scotsman is he may not get the easy time on the front end that he got at Epsom. You've got Audience in there. You've got Brave Emperor in there that likes to go forward. There is potentially, if they all turn up, quite a lot of pace. And as everyone knows, on that straight track at Ascot, it is not an easy track to make all on, especially if there's a bit of a fight for the sort of front end. Who knows? I don't know what, like, Integral. I think they'd be looking at 10 furlongs personally after last time, and especially with Passenger dropping out. But again, obviously, I guess it depends on the ground. I thought you could do worse than Simon and Ed Crispin's horse, Kudwa. He was very impressive over course and distance on trials day. This is a stronger field, but he's only had 3 runs. It was his first run of the season. I'd expect him to come on for the run. I love a horse that's won over course and distance, especially at Ascot. And in what I agree with James, I think is a weak renewal. He was the one that stood out. Charin ran really well in the Lockinge. He's probably not a Group 1 horse, although he could step forward again this year. But he was the only one that was able to make up any ground on Audience at all in the Lockinge. So I think he has to come under serious consideration as well.
I was about to look it up, but I've just run out of time. I feel like the Queen Anne in recent years has been a little bit of a weak race, hasn't it? With some fairly strange winners. Tom, have you got a fancy in the race?
Yeah, I think you can make a case for plenty of them, can't you? I suppose. I think Roger Varian really, he's done very well at the meeting. He trained. I think he's been had 2 years where he hasn't had a winner at the meeting since he's been training, and so. I think I'd side with Charin. As you say, he might not be a top Group 1 horse on what he's shown so far, but seems to be stepping forward in his run so far this year. And I think looking through the card, you can make a good case for him going pretty close. I'd be surprised if he doesn't win the Group 1 this year.
Yeah, I think he's definitely improved. Now let's move on, because we're running out of time already. You need to keep an eye on it, and Tuesday is so good. We can't spend all the time on Tuesday, but the King Charles III Stakes was the King's Stand. Tom, talk to me about Rogue Lightning, because when I was looking through his profile ahead of Haydock, whenever it was, 2.5 weeks ago. I kind of looked at it and I went, why did they pay £1 million for this horse? Because to me, he hadn't quite really earned it. And he's a gelding, right? So
he's a gelding who's he's a gelding who's so far all he's done is won a listed race. Look, he ran a really eye-catching race in the Abbey, and he shaped up with lots of promise there from a difficult draw, and he just didn't get a smooth run at all. Rab, who rode him that day, Rab Havlin, wasn't able to give him a smack or anything, and were beaten just over a length. So on the back of that, put them through the ring, and Wathnan Racing, who are very exciting new owners to our sport, bought him through Richard Brown, and just fantastic for us to retain him. Obviously, I was a bit worried about losing potentially a top flight horse for us, and it's just terrific to still have him in the yard. So we sort of gave him the rest of the year off then, and he came back and ran a solid race in the Temple Stakes. I suppose Charlie and I actually went up in the car that day together, and I suppose we both had high hopes for our horses in the race, and probably both came away a little bit disappointed. But actually, when you go back through it, drawn wide on easy enough ground, which is quite gluey and just hard to get into the race. And I feel also quite often with sprinters, they just need that first run of the year often. So he looks to have come nicely forward for it now, and I'm just really hoping he can repay his owner's support, because it's great to have him in the yard, and I think he's an exciting prospect.
Yeah, definitely a relationship we'd want to cultivate. And I think they've got, 20 runners going into Ascot. They've done a massive buying spree recently, including the likes of Hartum and other big names. I'm just having a look at the field for the King Charles III Stakes. So at the top of the market, you've got Big Evs. You've got Regional as well, the Haydock Spring Cup winner from last year. Asphora from Australia, who ran all right at Haydock a couple of weeks ago. Rogue Lightning's a fourth favourite, 10-1. Believing's in there, who I thought ran really well at Haydock on Saturday. Going down a little bit, 66-1, we've got The Dream. Charlie, are we kind of waiting on Weather Watch, and if it rains and which she comes in?
She'll run whatever. I have absolutely no idea what happened at Haydock. She's meant to love that ground, but weirdly the times at Haydock were not slow. Everyone was saying it was horrible, heavy ground. The times didn't back that up. The times were actually quicker than the ground suggested. But for whatever reason, she didn't fire. Her 2 runs previous to that had been very good. She was third in a listed race. That's worked out very well. And then she was second in the Group 3 at the Palace House at Newmarket. And Kurdos, who won the Temple, was behind her. Mick Bahi, who won over in Ireland, was also behind her. So for whatever reason, she just didn't fire. She's a filly. She's not straightforward, never has been. She's always looked after herself, but she's always saved her best form until Ascot. She loves Ascot. So we'll see.
If the rain comes, we lump on, right?
If the rain comes, you can have a little bit on. Yeah, but she won't go off 60. If the rain comes, she will not be 66-1. Okay. She'll be 10-1.
Okay. And where does this race rank in the Charlie Rubbish-o-meter race of Royal Ascot? Is this a good one or a bad one?
It's okay. It's okay, but I don't. I think we're lacking a star sprinter at the moment. Big Evs could be that horse. He really could. He's not quite there yet, but he's knocking on the door of being. I think if he wins this, people will sit back and say, right, this is he's as probably the best sprinter we've got over here. So he's interesting. I liked Regionals running in Ireland. I thought he ran a cracker, and the drop to 5 shouldn't be an issue with him. It's a really competitive race. We're all looking for a sprinter to put up their hand and say, I'm the best of the lot, because we don't have that at the moment. Big Ed could be the one. I think the 3-year-olds are strong. You've got obviously Van Dijk, Inisherin, who are going for the Commonwealth Cup. They are 2 potentially very good sprinters, and you've got Big Evs as well. So that possibly the future could be bright.
Jane, do you give the Aussie Raider any chance?
Don't know enough about him. Don't have an opinion on him. I think this is not an exciting renewal of the race, for the reason that there isn't a Choisir, there isn't a bullet coming from the southern hemisphere that we're all just waiting to see ping for the gates, and we'll all chase its tail. But I agree with the fact that we don't have a Batash, we don't have a Highfield Princess. but we potentially have a star with Big Evs. You mentioned with Tom the Vothnon contingent and the investment they've put into the sport and the number of horses they've bought. And I can only imagine the numbers they were offering to buy Big Evs. And they have resisted. And that is endearing to me. He's the Mulcombe winner on soft ground. He's the Flying Childers winner on soft ground. He went to America and won on firm ground. He won his reappearance. He is pretty much as good a resume of any horse that's going to line up next week. And he's the best horse in the race for me. And it's a 5 furlong race. We're not jumping fences here. We're not talking about falling over and, you know, all these different contingency plans. If he's the fastest horse in the race, which I think he is, he'll win. I trained
Big Evs' brother. And it genuinely was the slowest horse I think I've ever trained him.
Really?
Honestly,
what was it by?
It was by Teofilio. It was called Soroth, and he was so painfully slow. And yeah, his brother is an absolute rocket.
There you go.
Yeah.
Goes to show. Right, let's move on, because Charlie, surely you can't say the St James's Palace is a bad race. You've got the Guineas winner, Notable Speech, the English Guineas winner. You've got the Irish Guineas winner, Rosalien. You've got Henry Longfellow, who admittedly wasn't great in France. You've got Darlinghurst, a French raider who's won his last 4. Alionabi, who didn't run a terrible race in the Guineas. Hartum, will Hartum go, or will he find an easier option?
Jersey,
perhaps?
I think.
Jersey. Etc. Etc. Surely that's a decent race.
Okay, well, let's this is a match race, surely. You can cut the rest of them out. It's Rosalien versus Notable Speech, sort of second edition. It's a cracking race. 100%, completely agree. I can't have anything else in the race. Those two are head and shoulders above the rest of this lot.
Which one? Which one wins?
Notable Speech won fair and square at Newmarket. And I love Rosalien because it's trained by Hannon and he absolutely adores the horse. But he made hard work of getting to Hatem. Hatem is a very good horse, but he made hard work of it in Ireland. Notable Speech is unbeaten. He looks really, really good. So I have a feeling Notable Speech will win it again.
Okay, wait, before anyone influences anyone else even more, let's have a show of hands for Notable Speech. Ready, go. I'm actually going to go Rosalien. I might be wrong, but I think he had a lot to do in Ireland. The race didn't pan out how I wanted it to. And I think you could argue that Notable Speech at Newmarket sat last off a strong pace and was potentially a little bit flattered. But I am ready to be proven wrong. Tom, give your case.
No, I must say, I thought Notable Speech was particularly classy in Newmarket. He really travelled very strong, albeit off a strong pace, and he's a hugely exciting horse, isn't he? Well, for me, he is. And the way he hit the line really strong, and I'm hoping he's going to go and continue to improve and really bolt up here. Because I wouldn't say necessarily, I don't think, at the prices at 16-1 would Hassan be a fair each way bet, probably running Rosalien to a head last time over in Ireland. But Notable Speech for me. Hope he goes and bolts up.
Jane, you agree?
Yeah, I kind of hope, this is a little bit silly because I should be just saying what I think, but I hope we have a star that comes out of this race. I said that with Big Evs, but I believe this horse to be particularly exciting because, the Newmarket Guineas was the best classic run so far this year. Notable Speech, Rosalien, Hatem, Ghostwriter ran really well in France today. Alionabi is in this race in a sheer and drop down and trip, and obviously did what he did. City of Troy went up and trip and did what he did. The Guineas was a fantastic race, and he's done it all in a very short space of time. And he started running in January. My only question mark is if it does rain, how he'll handle it. I take your point on Rosalien that Sean gave him a lot to do, but he was entitled to beat Hatem because he didn't have to improve to do that. So I think there's just more to come from the Godolphin horse. This is the race of the day. Very exciting. Henry Longfellow will run better than he did in France. They rode him wrong off a slow pace and he flew home. Still think he's a very good horse. But I don't think he's good enough to beat a horse that could be 3-year-old of the year.
Okay. Right, rattling through. Let's move on to the next day, where the highlight on the card is the Prince of Wales Stakes over a mile and a quarter. We talked about Inspiral coming here potentially. She's an 11-1 shot, 4th favourite. August Rodin is at 7-4. White Birch 5-2. Horizon Doré also in there, 3rd favourite. And then you got the likes of Flayler, Luxembourg, Blue Rose Sen. Continuous, I find interesting, having his first run of the year, going further down. And as we just said, I don't think Passenger will go because he's picked up an infection. August Rodin and White Birch met last time out. White Birch coming out on top. I'm curious to see the improvement. Well, the fulfilling of the potential this year of White Birch, because I fancied him for the Derby last year and I was a bit gutted that he didn't run very well. And finally, as a 4-year-old, he seems to be coming good. The question is, how good, Jane? What do you think?
Yeah, he should be favourite. He's just not favourite because he's not trained by O'Brien.
Is he soft ground dependent?
He's better on soft ground. I can't tell you that he's dependent on it, because last year it's hard to take the form literally. He's running the Dante was on quick, wasn't it? And that was pretty good. Mm-hmm. He got upset in Epsom going to the start, fell out of the gates. He was a difficult ride last year. He was a real Jack the Lad. But I feel this year he's different. They're saddling him in the pre-parade ring like every other horse. They're treating him like every other horse. He's walking around the parade ring. Last year he was off gone down to the start and nobody ever saw him. Very impressed with him at the Curragh. Colin Keane rode him for pace. Rode him with a lot of confidence. I think he's the best horse in the race. Horizon Doré needs better ground. He's a nearly horse. He will win a Group 1, but I don't think it'll be the Prince of Wales. And I was disappointed with August Rodin the last day. I just can't keep forgiving him.
I feel like with him, he's either been brilliant or bombed out massively his whole career. Obviously more brilliance than bombing out, but then that run against White Birch last time out, he kind of ran well, didn't bomb out and wasn't brilliant. So it's kind of like, what do we do with him now?
Yeah, they just have to run him, because I admire that they've kept him in training and not just shuttled him off to stud and we never see him again. So I do really admire that, and he has brilliance about him, but I don't think it'll be deployed to best effect on a slow surface either. So that is a watching brief for me, but I like the grey horse. The only other thread of this race that could be interesting is I am like Blue Rose Sen's biggest fan, have always been, and Sumion is going to ride the Uganda horses next week. Don't think Aurelian has done anything wrong on either of them, personally, but she is 20-1 and she's a much better filly than we saw on her stable debut. Watching brief again, you mentioned Continuous, bit slow for 10 furlongs, isn't he?
Yeah, but where's he been? What's he been doing? I think he's got an entry elsewhere as well, but where's he been?
Yeah, there was talks of him running in the Coronation or the Tattersalls, and they never ran him in either. So I'd say they're just trying to get him started, probably with a view to going longer distances. I don't know if he'd run in a Hardwick. Could he run in the Hardwick?
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not good enough for this, so he could run a big race in that.
Yeah. Charlie, what are you drinking? It looks either like a kind of sangria or a Bloody Mary, or
I've actually made myself a very strong Bloody Mary. Quite a big one as well to get me through the whole evening. I will also say my wife has gone out for dinner, and I put the 2 kids down for bed, and about 15 minutes ago one of them sat up and started screaming. Luckily, he's laid down and has now gone back to sleep. I was a bit worried that I was going to have to leave us for 2 minutes.
Did you see that on the monitor, or did you?
No, I've got a monitor on my phone just in front of me.
I love it. Whenever it's my kind of Zoom preview nights, I'm like, Max, you got to be back at like 6:30. I need time to kind of make my very strong gin and tonic and have a look at the fields and then get into it. But no, you're multitasking exceptionally well. Let's hope they don't wake up again.
That they stay asleep.
Yeah. Where were we? Tom, you're fancying the Prince of Wales?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with Jane. I think Blue Rose Sen, she's a classy filly, and I think at 20-1, she's a massive each way price. You'd imagine she'd come forward for a seasonal debut as well, and I'm excited to see her. Sort of, she's also very impressive in last year in the French Oaks, and she's a dual Group 1 winner. So no, I say for me, she'd have my money each way all day long.
But what about the trainer change? So Maurizio Guarneri's now got her. Things didn't go all that well for Big Rock in the Lockinge. Are there not a few kind of question marks about how the switch has gone? And
yeah, I think you're dead right. There'd have to be, wouldn't there? But at the same time, she's got a run under her belt. She's a really classy filly, I think, and at the prices at 20 to 1, I think it's a massive price. I think if she were, I think that's a huge price going into this, and I think White Birch could probably take a fair bit of beating, but no, Blue Rose End for me. I think I really love the filly, so I hope she goes very well.
Is there a reason why they haven't confirmed White Birch yet, Jane, or is it?
No, I don't know why. They post race they were very cagey about committing him to anywhere, but with the omission of Passenger, this is going to become a very attractive affair when the horse that's favourite for the race is the one that you beat well last time. So I haven't heard anything.
Okay, and just to clarify the Inspiral thing, so Inspiral is owned by Cheveley Park. Cheveley Park stand Ulysses, who's the sire of White Birch, and Passenger's not going. But if White Birch goes, could Inspiral also go, or will they definitely switch her to the
hardly be in there? It would hardly be in their decision-making process. What the trainers?
No. So, well, hang on. I feel like I've listened to the Nick Luck Daily and had Chris Richardson on there going, well, we don't want to beat Passenger. I know he's out now, but Passenger White Birch with Inspiral because we stand Ulysses and we want him to have a big winner at Ascot. No?
I think Mr. Gosden probably makes the decision.
Does he?
If I was, surely if you're John Gosden, you're looking at that race thinking Inspiral should be running in this rather than the Le Mans race. And she's by Frankel out of a Selcup mare. She's run once over 10 furlongs, admittedly over in America on a very sharp 10, but she won.
Hang on, you think it's easier in the Prince of Wales than the Queen Anne?
Yes, this is the easier race. Surely. Don't agree? Okay.
I'm not sure.
I thought this is the easier race.
Did we just say the Queen Anne wasn't a very good race?
I don't think... No. Actually, what I think I said is I don't think it's a very strong Ascot, and this is proving my point.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to see how it all plays out. Where she runs.
Can't wait to see her run and being supplemented for the Gold Cup. Would be great.
Yeah.
Hang on, Tom. Just looking at my notes. Tom Clover intends to have a runner in the Kensington Palace Stakes on Wednesday. What's that?
Yeah, actually, so it's sort of been the plan with this filly. She's a filly called Regindry, and she won at Kempton a couple of weeks ago, and owned by a guy called Raj Mathari. You might spot him at the races. He always wears a bright orange suit, and you can't miss him. He's been with me since the side training. Anyway, he's got a runner at Royal Ascot. I think if she gets in, she's off 84, and most years that sneak her in. And I just think she'd probably be a 16 to 1 chance, and she wouldn't be without a squeak each way. And she's a fun filly, and I hope she runs a belter for her owner, because it'll be a big party if she does.
Wait,
not an easy race to win, Cloves. Not an easy race to win that race. No. Well, very difficult.
Yeah. What's his name again? And what did you say?
Regindry. Regindry.
Huh?
Regindry. So RAJ.
Yeah.
INDRI. And yeah, she's gonna run the Kensington Palace. Yeah. And it's been the plan for over a year, sort of to try and get her here. So
okay. Did you say orange suit?
Yeah, he has an orange suit, and he's an Indian-born businessman, larger than life, and yeah, he'll have his entourage there, and I really hope
he's tuned in. By the way, Cloves, he's watching this.
Yeah, that'd be 50s and drifting, old boy, I'd say.
On that subject, I don't think we've had a huge amount of questions in just yet, so we might save the questions for the end and continue our previewing. I hope there's lots of people watching, because this is definitely one of the more interesting previews that we've done. So anyone else want to say anything on Wednesday?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
I would like to give a shout out to my old filly who used to train Rogue Millennium in the Duke of Cambridge Stakes. If she goes
sentimental fool.
I'm not sentimental. She's 6-1. She's going to bolt up. She ran a huge race in the car, and I think if she goes there and she's in good form, I think 6-1's a big price. And she ran
is
huge.
that the same race? Wait, she won. Which race did she win for you last year?
Yeah, same race.
Same
last
race.
year. I mean, she's in it now. I think she's second favourite. And
yeah, but she's been a much less.
I'm not being sentimental.
Trainer.
She's a
massive trainer downgrade.
As a massive trainer upgrade, and as a 5-year-old now, I think she should win a Group 1 this year. So I expect her to go very close on Wednesday.
Did you guys, obviously Tom did, but did you guys see her at the Curragh?
I didn't, only watching the race.
Charlie's no. Tom, you definitely watched her reappearance at the Curragh, yes?
Yeah.
Francesca? Dylan Brown got 2 days because he tried to engineer his own gap. Such was the lack of openings down the rail. He got 2 days for it. So he actually got so locked up that the mare made her own gap and still nearly won. It was the, let's just say she's a winner without a penalty going into Ascot.
Yeah. Okay. That's 2 ticks for Rogue Millennium.
And she looks fantastic, Tom. She looks like a tank now.
Oh no, don't tell him that. What
did
you
tell?
He knows.
Break his little heart.
So that was broken a long way. I wanted to go and win a group. I mean, hand on heart. I know. I honestly, she deserves to win it, and I love that mare now a huge amount. So she deserves to win one. Please God, she does.
Am I opening a can of worms if I ask about the Rogue?
Not at all. Oh gosh, they got an advert on the Racing UK now. It's all our old yard and all our horses, all our winners and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, it was one today. I saw it. Oh god, that looks familiar. No, to be honest, obviously it's sad, but I like to focus on the good times we had, and we had some incredible times. And we grew. They came to the 6 horses and they left with 28, and we sold 2 horses we bought for 80 grand. For about 3 million between them, and they won loads of prize money. Won a Royal Ascot, and I'm still very amenable with Tony Elliott who runs it, and say hi at the sales or whatever. And no, good luck. It was fun while it lasted, but chance for someone else to have a go now.
Have you managed to fill the gap?
Well, Wathman luckily rented out a few boxes down the bottom of our yard, which is really handy.
Oh yes, is that with Hamad?
Exactly right.
Oh,
yeah.
Jahani?
So that's great, and so great to have them down the bottom. And we lost I think 28 horses in total, but we have been pretty proactive at the breeze ups, and so we're back up to around 55 or so. So not a bad number. Hopefully we can keep building and keep pushing forward. And it was a good foundation for us, the whole road thing, and gave us a great platform. So hopefully we can build on that.
Okay. Good approach.
Beautifully played, Tom. You played that with a very straight bat. She's just bowled one outside off stump, and you left it well alone. Well done.
That rarely happens.
Off air, you can tell us what you really think.
You know what I think.
Okay, right. What time are we? 8:15. Oh my goodness. 3 more days to go. My word. Let's move on to Thursday and the Gold Cup. Because, I need to get this back up again, but I think, Charlie, on this front, when I looked at this earlier, I was very much in your camp in the sense that this didn't shout to me, brilliant race, correct?
Yes, 100%. Kyprios, he's...
sorry, let me just run through. So current favourite, Kyprios, second favourite, Gregory, then Vauban, Keys Chorister, Coltrane. I think it's too big at 16-1. Sweet William won last time out. Trawlerman, continuous. Point Lonsdale, Queenstown, Absurd, Trushan 40-1. He's lost his form, hasn't he? Tower of London 66-1. And Sumo Sam, Enemy 100-1 shots. Right, carry on.
Kyprios, I guess, wins. He's the best of the lot, isn't he?
Has he? Well, he got got beaten twice last year, and then his 2 wins this year. Are they of any great shakes?
No, but he had a very long time off last year. Obviously after the Cadran, and then he was off for nearly a year, and then he came back and got dumped in the deep end at the Curragh, got beaten by Eldar Eldarov, who's a good horse, and then went to Ascot for Champions Day and got beaten by Trawlerman. I think you can forgive him that, having had so much time off, and he's come back with 2 facile wins in nothing races. Again, I think we're looking for a star. There isn't, at the moment, there's not a star there, but if there is a star, Kyprios could be the one that, could go to the next level. I don't think any of the others can, myself. I might be being harsh.
Right, in that case, we need to find a well-priced winner. Tom, who do you fancy?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I think he's right. He probably will go and win, but at the prices, he won't be having any of my money. And so I think probably Vauban for Willie Mullins. He won the Copper Horse last year. Wouldn't be the biggest shocker to see Willie get this horse to win. I don't think. I will say it would be a shock, but it's not unthinkable. And he's 10-1. Obviously won the Copper Horse on your handicap last year, but I think at the prices, that's where my money would be going. I think.
Jane?
I'd agree with that, Tom. I went down to the parade ring the next day after Vauban won the Copper Horse. I think he won on day 1. And I said to Willie Mullins, is it possible you ran him in the wrong race? And so what other race could I have ran him in? The Gold Cup, maybe? The way the race transpired with Courage Mon Ami, well, he might be a year too late. He said he wanted to win the Melbourne Cup. Jesus.
I think you've all been sucked in by the Willie Mullins factor. I don't think it's fine. I think you've all been sucked in by the Willie Mullins factor. I don't think he's got a chance.
You think he's no good?
Well, he was well in a handicap at Ascot last year. Then he won a average Group 3. Then he bombed out in the Melbourne Cup, and then he beaten nearly 5 lengths by Javalotta, who's no superstar. So,
jeez, it'd be fantastic when he wins. God, I'll ring you straight away.
What?
When he wins, I'll ring you straight away.
What price did you say Coltrane was?
Hang on.
16-1.
16-1.
That's quite a big price for him.
Isn't it? I know.
Yeah, if the ground's okay, that's quite a big price. Yeah, he was second last year.
Yeah,
I'm very surprised by his price. I thought he won last time out. I don't know what I'm missing. Why he's such a big price? He won. Yeah,
he's always a big price.
At the prices. I thought he'd be like 6-1, 8-1, sort of 3rd or 4th favourite. 16-1 seems massive for a horse that won last time out and finished 2nd in the race last year.
He's
that
pretty
would be my bet in the
consistent.
race.
I agree. I'm with Charlie. Right, go Team Coltrane.
Yeah, well,
go Vauban.
Say something rude.
Willie
We'll
Mullins.
beat Vauban easily.
Okay, great. I'm glad we got that one sorted. Okay, Friday, Commonwealth Cup. Let me get the field up for that. Big race entries. I think this could be a decent race.
Good one to be.
75%
of our breed are bred for this race. It should be the race of the week, and it's not.
Yeah.
Say again?
I'd say I go as far as to say 85% of the breed are bred for this race. It should be a good race. It just really annoys me, this.
And it is or isn't?
Do you not think it's a good race?
No, it is.
Race,
let me just spin through the horses in it for people at home. So Inisharan's head of the market, Van Dijk's right there, Elite Status 7-1, Bucanero Fuerte is there, River Tiber just saw, Big Evs I don't think will go here, Porta Fortuna, Star Last, blah blah blah. Give me the Beat Boys, Really Frelly, and Bigger the Rest. Okay, go for it.
Go for it. It's a good race, but it should be 85% of the breed are bred for this distance, and we're talking about a King Stand, whatever it's called this year. And we get on to the Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee for older horses. This is the 3-year-old only. This should be a good race, and it is. I actually want, before I give a comment, I want to get the trainer's comment or your view, Francesca, on Van Dijk. Because So wasn't there when he ran. Why did he bomb out?
I'm going to deflect to the other Newmarket inhabitants because I feel like they would have spoken to the Crisford team. To me, there wasn't many obvious excuses other than that it was his first run of the year. But what's the chat from the yard?
Well, I was actually working out with Ed Crisford today. Now, there's an image for you all.
Hang on, what? You were what?
Pumping iron, Francesca, Yeah.
Where? How?
Yeah.
What is
in the
it?
gym in Newmarket.
Oh, which gym?
Yeah. Asgard gym. Not the Bedford Lodge or anywhere like sort of
you were at the Bedford Lodge sipping your
proper
latte.
spit and sawdust, Yeah.
Very good.
And he's blaming the ground. He said, first run in a long time, heavy ground. And I don't disagree with that in the slightest. I'm not convinced it was heavy ground. It was weird ground. It was strange. The times weren't slow, but it was really tacky and horrible. And for a horse having their first run in a long time, I can forgive him. Are there alarm bells ringing? Yes, there are, because I thought he'd win that race, especially on his form as a 2-year-old. I also think Inisherin was incredibly impressive when he won, dropping back to 6. So for me, Inisherin, if I was to have a bet on the two of them, Inisherin would be the one I'd be on at the moment. I think he's the safer bet. I think he looked unbelievably quick the other day, and Van Dijk's just got a tiny question mark to answer. It is only small. He was an exceptional horse last year, and you have to be able to forgive a horse running on that ground first up. But I'd like to have seen him win that.
It's funny because temperament-wise, I always thought he was pretty good as a 2-year-old, despite the fact that he was a breeze-up horse, and that can tend to kind of wind them up a bit. However, when you look at the likes of Inisherin and what the stable has to say about him, he seems super chilled out, and I think that's really counting in his favour this year. Tom, which way would you go?
I just didn't love the way Van Dijk didn't really go out through the line. Up at Haydock, I just love to have seen him hit the line a little bit stronger. I can appreciate it was easy ground and that he might come out and go and win. He was an incredibly good horse last year, but could be a good race for his sire, Vanna Gray. I think he's got 3 of the first 5 in the market. Obviously, a sire going very well. So I think I'd probably steer clear of Van Dijk. Loving a horse at a price. I think for me at the price, I'd probably go to Clive Cox and go Jassor each way. One on his rear start at Ascot, and I think at the prices for me, that's probably where I'd have a bit each way. Vanna Gray's exceptional sire, and Clive Cox is obviously a very, very top trainer, and I think that's where I go at 12-1 each way on Jassor.
Yeah, he was good. I saw him. I was there at Ascot when he won the Commonwealth Cup trial race. Elite status, though, Jane has done, well, I was going to say he's done nothing wrong. He very much took a step back in the right direction with his last start win.
Yeah, he's good at Newbury. That said, Relief Rally, would she figure in this race? Probably not.
But she's a big price.
She is. Yeah, I just don't. I see her shelf below top drawer, personally, but I might be wrong. 2 lines on the 2 Irish contenders. Buccaneer Fuerte was very good in his reappearance at Naas. He looked fit in the ring. He was fit. There was no like, oh, this was going to improve for the run. He was definitely very ready. And he ran well behind course and distance winner River Tiber in the Coventry last year. And I don't think River Tiber really got the mile at the Curragh. And if you look back in his form after the Coventry, he had a knockout. He went to Deauville. They said he wasn't ready. He finished 3rd. He went to the Middle Park. He was below par. He didn't really go on for whatever reason. And they kind of did tell us that he had an injury. I'd say he's a better horse, and dropping back to 6, he might just be a little bit forgotten about. I'd say he's good, and having been at the Curragh in the ring, I thought you're going to improve for this run, whatever you do. So I'm hoping he goes back to 6 furlongs. He's entered all over the shop. He'll run well.
Okay, I'm conscious we're running out of time. So that was the Commonwealth, what about the coronation? Let me just quickly pick up the field.
It's a great race.
It's a great race. Excellent. I'm glad to hear some positivity. So over a mile for the fillies. Oh, Opera Singer at the top of the market, then Fallen Angel, winner of the Irish 1000, El Malka, winner of the English 1000, Ramatuelle, possibly should have won the English 1000, Porta Fortuna, Devoted Queen, undefeated, I think. And the rest of bigger prices. It is a really good race. I don't think I would have naturally had Opera Singer as favourite. Would you guys?
No.
She was very good last year, wasn't she? I mean, she bolted up by 5 back end of last year, and sort of one reappearance, slightly below par run perhaps, but didn't really go away. But yeah, I can see why she might be. I thought she might take a bit of beating here, Opera Singer, personally, but so could well be wrong.
Jane, I was interested when you said earlier that Aurélien Lemaitre has done nothing wrong, although this isn't a Yeguada.
Yeguada horses, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't had a great time in England so far, should we say, having potentially gone a bit early on Ramatuelle in the Guineas, potentially got Blue Rosén beaten at Goodwood last year. I don't think he's watching, so he should be all right. And he was on. But
even if he is watching, Francesca, he'll know that.
He'll know
true.
That.
You know, he'll know the sectionals, he'll have seen it back. And I just looked at Ramatuelle, and she only has 1 entry. So she's going to run Ascot, will be running here. She should be favourite, or she should be nearly top of the market. Opera Singer, okay, they said she would improve for the run at the Curragh. She wasn't fat. She might improve a bit, but she's not going to improve a ton. I'd say Fallen Angel might go for the Diane. I'd love to see her up and trip. They wrote her very positive at the Curragh. That's not confirmed now. That's just what I think she might do. They think she'll definitely get further than well. El Malka, completely unexposed. She should probably be favourite. She's the Guineas winner. Porta Fortuna, in the midst of all the talk, and myself included, of the fillies that were unlucky, David Munizier's filly, Ylang maybe, and El Malka being the winner, we completely omitted the fact that Porta Fortuna ran a fantastic race, confirmed that she trained on, having had very good form last year. The only thing I'd say she's ground reliant. I'd say she needs daisy cutter quick ground. So long story short, I would be with Ramatuelle. Lessons will be learned harsh, but victory will be sweet.
Interesting. Yeah, well, because this is on the round mile, isn't it? So I think if she'll probably settle better.
It was officially very soft at the Morney when she was second. Probably should have beaten Van Dijk that day when they probably went too soon again. It was not soft. I was there. It was gorgeous. Jeez, you'd love that weather for Ascot next year. Or next week. It wasn't. The French with their going descriptions are gas. I'd say it was good ground at worst.
What did we have an arc day? Very soft, and then we had rounds. Okay, I think I'm with you with Ramatuelle. Who does everyone else fancy? Charlie?
Me, Ramatuelle. She stayed in my yard. She is absolutely tiny. Like, literally, she is a little rat of a thing. But she was, like, unbelievable in the Guineas to finish where she did, having gone for home off a strong pace as far out as she did. Like, fair play. And she's obviously got a proper engine. So I have a feeling she is a very good filly, ridden slightly better.
Yeah. Well, it is. No, you're right. It's a cracking race. I suppose the 2-3-year-old Guineas
best race of the week.
Races. The
Like
St.
a really
Palace
good race.
And this, isn't it? Where we've got the Guineas winners meeting. I agree. Okay, right. We are officially pretty much out of time. So let's just have a quick look at Saturday, where we have got the Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee Stakes. I'm really going to have to get my head around these new names. Where the favourite is Kinross, who hasn't raced yet this year. I mean, I know he's a bit of a star, but hasn't raced yet this year. Millstream second favourite, Mitbahi third favourite, Regional also in there. Charter should have been a ring. Washington Heights, the Wizard of Eye. Okay, I'm probably with you, Charlie. Not a great race.
Not a good race. Another not a good race. and I can't wait to watch the Wizard of Eye absolutely hose up on the bridle, scythe through them. Tom Marquand doing his best impression of Jamie Spencer. He can wave at him as he goes past Mitbahi. Wonderful.
16-1. You heard it here first. Okay. Course form. Great. What about the grade? We happy with that?
He is he's a funny horse. He's exceptionally talented. He came to me with a big reputation last year. He'd run into a lot of sort of very high quality races, and I'd looked at a lot of his races, and he travels through them brilliantly and wasn't quite finishing them off. And I was convinced that he'd been running over too far. We dropped him back to 7 for the Victoria Cup and held him up off the slow pace, and he still managed to win despite the slow pace. Going into that race, I was really concerned that the 7 would stretch him. As it happened, they went steady enough that he was fine. But I am utterly convinced he has the speed for 6. And in a year where it is not a good race, Kinross is a star. Everyone would love to own Kinross. What a legend. But he's not a 6 furlong Group 1. He's running this race 3 times, 2 or 3 times, and finished midfield every time. He's a very good horse, but he's better over 7. Millstream won a Duke of York where they all finished in a complete heap. Can't tell me there was a star in there. Mitbar, he ran well in Ireland and won nicely. He's a good horse. But Shartash on figures, Shartash has won 2 average races, but his figures have been very good, I'm told. He's been bought by Wathnan, part of the Wathnan spending spree. He's very interesting. Archie Watson has a brilliant record at Royal Ascot, especially in the sprint races. But in my opinion, there's no Aussies, there's no Americans. It's not a strong Group 1. And the Wizard of Eye is one of the most talented horses I've had through my hands in a long time.
Very good. Well, we wish you the best of luck with him at a decent price, so everybody can have a little nibble on him.
Here endeth the lesson.
I'm conscious of the time, and I'm sure we've got a few questions which Ed can come back in with the best of the questions. Tom, anything else during the week that we haven't picked up on that you would like to put us in the right direction of?
No, Charlie has been saying about the Wizard of Eye going to this race for weeks on end now, and so fair play, because it doesn't look the strongest renewal of the race, and you wouldn't put him past him to run a huge race. But no, I think we've covered most things, Jessica, more or less.
Yeah, and Jane, anything in the other less obvious races that we should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, I was very taken with a filly at Naas called Fairy Godmother. I think she goes for the Albany. She's an unusual Night of Thunder to go into Ballydoyle, but she's very mature. She looks like a 3-year-old, very much ready as a 2-year-old. And the full brother to Little Big Bear called Whistle Jacket. I think he's going to go for the Norfolk. He's not nearly as mad as his brother, Blackbeard. So I'd say he's very fast. I think they're 2-year-olds to follow, but of course they would probably be top of the market given their trainer.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Ed, you've been paying attention. We're going to test you.
Pages of notes. And no discredit, but nonetheless, I think Ollie and I are going to have to sit the whole way through and work out what you actually said, and then we can publish our tips. I tell you that I just loved it. I laughed out loud a lot. It was like being a sort of gate crasher at a very entertaining little dinner party of people who were very knowledgeable. So thank you very much. I really did enjoy it. And there's some very funny little things. And I was going to crack a joke about the Rogues Gallery, but I decided not to at the end. There were some questions. I'm leaving the ones that were there's some nice ones actually. So Derek Cannon, given just when we were warming up, which some people might have seen on YouTube, Jane and I were talking about what might win the Gold Cup, and I said I just backed the wrong things now because I have some emotional engagement, and I like Trushan because Anthony Bromley is our bloodstock agent and bought Trushan. And Derek Cannon said, what chance of Trushan rolling back the years if the ground gets really soft? Does anyone want to stick their hand up and answer that one?
It's an open race.
Sorry, say again, Jane.
It's an open race. There's no Yates or Stradivarius in there. there's not going to be a surprise if he wins.
Yeah, Charlie was shaking.
Apart from Charlie.
He's got his pension out. He's got his Zimmer frame.
What age is Coltrane, the one that you tipped?
Yeah, but Coltrane's, he's still at the top of his game. When was the last time Trucham ran a decent race?
Only been trained for the day, man, as you would know.
Quite a long time ago.
I feel like he was all right last year. This year he's been shocking. No?
I think that's quite generous.
I need to look him up. Hang on. Hang on. Come on, Wi-Fi. Okay.
Trucham won the Cadran last year, didn't you?
Yeah. He won a Group 1 in September.
Yeah. But it was a
And the
not
Doncaster Cup.
Cadran.
And the Doncaster Cup last year in September.
I think it's going to pay everyone's bills for Ascot. That's what.
But he's been pretty bad this year in 2 starts. So, don't know.
Anyway, so that was your answer, Derek. Thank you very much for the question. Chris Robbins asked, I think this is a fair question, actually, because it'll save Ollie and me a lot of work of having to rummage through what you guys said. So to each of you, can we say what's your banker, or skip out one, and dark horse for Royal Ascot? Jane.
You're picking me. My banker is Fairy Godmother. I think she's the best 2-year-old filly in Ireland. I got my pen out. I realise we're recording. Full disclosure, I haven't maybe a strong handle on your 2-year-olds over there, but she's like an American 2-year-old. She's like when you see Wesley bring over. She's so strong. And a dark horse. We don't even have handicap entries yet.
Okay, that's fair. That's a totally fair answer.
Yeah.
Or
sorry,
passing the hot potato. Charlie? Banker?
I think my bank. I was really, really, really taken by Innes Sheeran dropping back in trip. I think he's my banker in a strong race. I'm not feeling overly confident with that, but I think he's my banker. I think our 3-year-old sprinters are potentially very good. I love Big Evs. I love Innes Sheeran. Van Dijk, I wouldn't rule out him bouncing back to form at all. A dark horse. I mean, this is really boring because I actually can't think of any other dark horses other than what I'm running my own. I run an absolute legend of a horse called Gorak in either the Buckingham Palace or the Wokingham. Haven't quite decided which one. He started off the season really well and ran a blinder at Ascot last year, where he won his side of the race in the Buckingham Palace, but was on the wrong side. At 20-1, you can do worse than having a bet on him because he'll put 120%. I
love Gorak, but he has just been upstaged by Harry. We actually run a sweepstake in the office whether Francesca would turn up with a child or an animal. Marvelous. And we Harry, absolutely brilliant.
Hi, Harry. This time.
Tom, same question. What's your banker? What's your dark horse?
I think that my banker. Charlie's going to say I'm going heart over my head here, but I think 6-1 is Rogue Millennium. Well, okay, if I'm wrong, I'll buy you something. If I'm right, you can buy me something, because I think at 6-1 she's a huge price, and straight mile, she loves it there, and if she turns up there, I think she'll take a huge amount of beating, and it's not a shorty, so I'm being brave. And
dark horse.
Gosh, sorry.
Dark horse.
Dark horse. Do you know what? Really boring, but I probably am going to go with Gendry. I think she'll be a nice price, and I'd hope she run a really, really nice race on the Wednesday. You know, we sort of not running there lightly. She goes there, I hope, with a bit of a squeak.
That's fantastic. So, Francesca, obviously tipster of the year. Do you have a?
No, I'm actually the host. I'm not sure if you got the memo, but I'm the host. I'm not the panelist. And also, as you might have seen on Derby Day, I change my mind at the last minute, and I wait to see what I like in the paddock and what I don't like. So you'll have to be watching ITV every race every day to get my tips. That's water, by the way. You right?
Can I have this?
No, you can't have my PowerPoint. No.
So then we've got one last question from Dylan Evans. I haven't read it yet. So when looking for a winner of a race, which would you say is more important? The recent form or the recent data of how the horse has run? You can answer yes or no, each three of them. Not obviously the host, because you know the Tom, what do you think?
So if we knew the answer to that, we'd all be very rich. It'd be very easy, this betting game. But I suppose I like recent form. Recent form, I think, is probably not a bad thing to have. But then, you know, you often see horses come back and do very well at repeat meetings and particular courses. So yeah, who knows? That's what makes it fun.
Charlie?
Yeah, I actually like course form, especially at a place like Ascot. Straight track is it can be a specialist track. So a horse that's run well over course and distance always would go higher up my interest list than one that's maybe run a couple of times over course and distance and sort of flopped. So but especially for a track like Ascot, which is a really, I think is a specialist track. I like course form big time.
Jane? Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah,
Thank you.
2 euros I go on ratings. I for cohesion use time form, but that's just because I like to keep like with like. For 4-year-old and up, I like a horse that's been targeted. So Kyprios might have beat nothing in his 2 runs this year, but he's probably done it at 70% to be 100% for the day, rather than a horse who, like the Lockhinge winner, who's won, probably surprised a few people, and all of a sudden we're going to the Queen Anne. So that's something I bear in mind. These races are targets for these trainers, and I prefer a horse that maybe you might say his form at the beginning of the season is not on par with his peak form last year, but remember, he probably hasn't peaked yet.
Excellent. Yeah. We also, Harry, where's your hat? I give you a very nice hat, and you don't seem to be wearing it.
Yeah, where's your hat?
Come on. What hat?
The one with the apple away on the top.
I don't know.
I don't know. What about the many cars that Ed's given you? Can you not put super glue on the peanuts, please? Right.
Yeah, listen, as I said, I thoroughly enjoyed tonight. I'm genuinely, I sort of sit here watching it, and I'm sitting at my dining room table now, and it's like you all sat around it, and I feel like I'm fully informed for next week. If not necessarily going to make any money. I really can't thank you all enough. Jane, I'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Charlie, best of luck next week. Tom, best of luck next week. Jessica, thank you so much for corralling these people so well.
They were pretty good.
And I thought, genuinely, I just think these are fab, and I just love them. So thank you very, very much. Thank you very much, Jan Finn, for sponsoring us, and Simon, and all the people, and we can all drink. What are you having for dinner? I've cooked some. I'm about to have my these are some lamb kebabs, which are just on the barbecue now. So
Here they
I don't
are.
know if you can see that, but my Deliveroo pizza is about 2 minutes away. So I'm going to go and pick that up.
Hang on. I thought the gym bunny didn't kind of do pizza.
No, I work out so that I can eat pizza. It's simple.
Wait, is it from Unico?
No, Pizza Express.
Oh. No, we just gone down on my estimations. Unico is so much better.
No, absolutely negative.
Don't you think Unico's better?
No.
What? Pizza Express?
Thank you very much, Harry. He knows.
Unico.
Ed, look here. See?
that is a very, very smart car, Harry.
And
We should
there's
reel
this
one
one.
of those next. That's an American.
Charlie, I hope the babies have stayed awake. Oh, hang on. We're getting a tour of the cars. Everyone's probably
very, very
tuned out
smart.
by now. Right, I need to put this rotter to bed. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you all the audience for joining us. Thank you very, very much, Ellie, for twiddling the dials and sending me the questions, and Ollie for pouring through this to find out what tips these lovely people actually said. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you at Ascot or next time.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Harry.
Bye.